Do you think that's impacting people's development today, is the fact that we don't give people time to we talked about before we started recording, like your season in New York, and or just like players or people are not getting time to work out their inefficiencies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I think sports or the NFL is a great microcosm of what life is all about. And
Agreed.
you're right. We expect players to come in and be a finished product right off the bat. That when they're making a leap up and they're playing against better talent and they're playing against them in a more complex situation and they're 20, 21, 22 years old, and we expect them to be finished products. And, we've lost our patience with the idea that, hey, greatness takes time. Not every great player shows up, year one and is great and win championships and do all of that stuff, that it takes time to grow and season. And it takes experience that, again, I can't get acclimated to the NFL game until I play the NFL game, till I understand the speed and the complexity and I understand what I'm capable of doing. And, maybe I grow in certain skills that I didn't need in college, but now I need in the NFL. And so it takes time to develop those things. And so, yes, I think life, for whatever reason, we're trying to force people to have to know and be way sooner than we had to know and be,
Yeah.
because we had patience with people going, hey, we're going to give you a shot and we're going to grow you along and we're going to put you on the practice squad, or you're going to be the backup and you're going to get time to acclimate to this so that when your time comes, then we know you're ready, instead of just throwing you out there and assuming you're ready. I think a great example is, just recently there was, the article about or the book that was written in regards to Caleb Williams. And there was some, quotes that were being thrown around of Caleb, kind of going, hey, they didn't even tell me what to watch on film. They didn't tell me what to do, and I think that's a great cautionary tale for all of us, is that, I think there was a couple things at play there. There was the one side, the coaches, just assuming, hey, this guy has been great in college and we drafted him number one overall and he sounded really good in all of our interviews. So we just assumed that he knew it all. He knew what he needed. He knew how to prepare. He knew how to watch film. And so, boom, we're going to let him be, because it's worked really well to this point. You go be you, and, get ready to go however you get ready to go, and we'll play. And so for the first side, it was the coaches just assuming whatever they did about Caleb Williams, where they didn't take him and teach him and really bring him along and grow him, in the areas that he needed. And then there was the other side, that's Caleb Williams, that you come out and make these quotes after the fact. I can't believe that if you went into your building and your coaches and say, hey, I've never really had to dive in and watch film. Can you help me with this? Can you show me? Can you talk me through your process? Or, him reach out to me, or Tom Brady, I think he's got a relationship, and just say, hey, take me through your process. While I'm trying to figure out mine, take me through yours, so at least I have a blueprint on where to start. And so, again, I think it's twofold. I think it's us expecting too many people to be more advanced and assuming that they know things or should know things that they've never been taught. And then the other side, like I said, not taking the accountability personally to say, okay, I know I don't know this. I need to find the answer. And I need to humble myself to say, I don't know, coaches. I don't know, blah, and seek out those answers. So again, if I know I'm not ready, I need to figure out how to get ready, because the organization or the situation that I'm in, the team that I'm on, is expecting me to be ready and to live up to some certain standard. And so I think it falls on both sides. But I think you're 100% right, is that, for whatever reason, we're expecting, kids to be more grown than they used to be, than they had to be before. And our expectations are so much higher on them. And I'm sure there's part of it because they have access to so much more and all of that stuff. But still, to me, it's like there always has to be room for a learning curve for guys that are new to a situation, right? If I was taking Kurt Warner from the Rams to the Cardinals, okay, I'm going to expect Kurt Warner to be seasoned and ready to go as a Cardinal, because he's spent time and done it at a high level and obviously done this before. Boom. if I'm taking Caleb Williams from college and I'm moving him up a level and I'm moving him up complexity and I'm moving him up in a lot of different areas, I need to say, okay, I know there is going to be a transition period here, just like there was, I'm sure, for every coach that was out there. They didn't just jump into the coaching role and go, oh, I got this. I know everything. And I've never had to learn it. No, you grow into becoming better. And so I think it's so important for us to be able to, again, nothing wrong with having high expectations, but we also need to know those expectations. We've got to leave room to reach those expectations if they're not there right away, because we have to just believe that, as you take every step and you move to the next place, there is things you're going to have to learn and areas you're going to have to grow in before you reach what we might call your ceiling or your full potential.
Do you think players today they know this, but they're just afraid to admit it and ask for help? Just because if you think about, I'm a Bears fan, by the way, so it resonates with me when we're talking about Caleb Williams. But we see, year after year, we see these quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks, drafted number one or in the top three every single year. They're the franchise player now, and they're 22 years old. And typically, these high draft picks are, for the most part, were All-Americans in college, or they were, Mr. whatever of state. So it's kind of like they've been the big man on campus for a long time. But yeah, do you think that's a issue that's not talked about enough, is maybe the ego getting in the way of asking for help?
Yeah. I mean, no question. And again, I don't want to just say it's this era versus any other era. You and me, we're both men. One of the hardest things to do is to admit that you're wrong or admit that you don't know something and you need help in a particular area. And then when the expectations are high on you and you know what people expect of you, it's even harder to say, well, I can't meet your expectation because I don't really know this or I don't understand that. Humility is a hard thing, especially when you've had a great level of success, right? It's always tough when you've been at the top and been one of the best, to admit that you don't have the tools to be the best, at the next level or where you're at right now. I think that's always a hard thing. And I think that's always a wrestling match as well, because we want to project that we've got the answers and that we know and that we're ready and that, nobody has to worry about us, and it's part of, leadership, both sides of it is, the first is to be able to instill that confidence in your group that, hey, I got this, I can lead us. But I think it's always important in leadership also to go, hey, but I don't know everything. So, where I have a shortcoming, I need you guys to help me out. I need you guys to fill in the gaps. And, that can make a better leader as well when you humble yourself and you take accountability. But it's just a hard thing for all of us to do. And I just think that the higher the level of success you have, the harder it is in a lot of situations to admit that you don't have the answers, because the higher and more successful you are, the more you're expected to already have the answer. Well, you've been this good, you must have answers. You must know everything. And so when somebody looks at you that way and you go, I don't, it can be a scary proposition to look somebody in the face and do that. Again, I just think it's all, if at the end of the day, you're trying to become the best version of yourself, you have to understand what you don't know, right? You've got to figure it out. I often use that phrase, that old adage, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I truly believe there's a lot of us that are like that, and again, I'll use this Caleb Williams situation, even though there may not be any accuracy in what I'm saying, but, Caleb, it could be very easy for a Caleb Williams to go, my gosh, yeah, I know how to prepare. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. Like, won a Heisman Trophy. I'm one of the best players in college football. Everywhere I've been successful. Yeah, I'm good. I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation and you pop on the film and you're watching film just like you did in college. And you're like, hey, this must be good enough because it was good enough in college. And they don't know, and they may not know it's not good enough. What they're doing and how they're preparing and what they're watching doesn't correlate the same way at the NFL level that it did at college. But until they know that, they're not going to do anything different, right? They're not going to look to do any different. They're not going to think they have to do anything different. And so being able to recognize what we don't know, to figure out and know what we don't know, I think oftentimes is the first step to that humility, is to be able to recognize, oh my gosh, I'm going to sit down with this veteran and my gosh, look what he's doing. And look what else he's doing. And look at how he's, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that stuff. Like that wasn't even, on my radar. I would have never in a million years done that had I not seen this person. But we've got to seek out those things that we don't know, or those things that we can't do, or those things that, that we need to know if we're going to be the best version of ourselves. And so, we can't get stuck in the, I don't know what I don't know. We've got to seek out and make sure I know everything I can possibly know, because that's the only thing that gives me the chance to be the best.